My father has written a book and he is looking for a reader who would tell him, yes, that is it, but without success. I'm asking why? Why is nobody able to see what we have right in front of our eyes? The history of my father's vision started with his observation that nobody can describe what they recognize, the contents of their consciousness, even though they have them within their reach. This finding was followed by an insight that what we recognize are the contents of our consciousness and we can only anticipate the reality behind them. Later he discovered that our self is embedded even deeper in our thoughts and that we can also only anticipate that they reflect reality, that what comes to our minds makes sense only if we assume it makes sense, if we assume that our brain is here and functions in such a way to mediate the reality around us. We can build up on this assumption. Permanent, complex, analytical synthetic activity of the brain produces everything that we recognize. What do we actually recognize? Three things. Ourself, which, otherwise unseen, is sitting in the auditorium, a stage of the consciousness, and the contents of the consciousness on that stage. In contrast to self and consciousness, the contents of the consciousness are diverse. Those which seem to prevail, besides ideas, create an optical picture of the world around us. This picture disappears when we close our eyes. Other contents of consciousness are given by sensing by other senses: hearing, smell, touch, taste, sense of balance, body sensing. We also should not forget emotions and feelings, mental images, and dreams. In the present moment, depending on attention focus, some contents of the consciousness outweigh the others, while some fall back into the background, yet at the same time they form a unit. The world we see is not only optical perceptions, but simultaneously we also realize what the individual things are. It means color spots carry meaning, we touch things, they arouse our feelings, we imagine them, we think about them. Later on, my father started to call this unit of consciousness contents actual mental model. Actual, because it is created at the present time. Mental, because it is produced by mind. Model, because it models for us the reality hidden behind it and mediated through it. Thanks to this concept, a man feels like a fish in an illuminated aquarium. He or she cannot see behind the walls of what he or she sees. He or she only assumes that there is a reality which he or she recognizes because of what he or she sees. Or we can try to illustrate the approach of the actual mental model prism in another way. For example, only a few people can see the giantism of the sun, and unlike astronomers they perceive it only as some light in the sky. Only a few realize when they are looking at the sky that they look into the immense depths of space. But they can achieve this insight possibly by observing the crossing of Venus over the solar disk. Similarly, it is enough to close your eyes to be aware of everything that thus disappears by doing so. That is the substantial part of the actual mental model which enables us to perceive the world, the reality. We are immersed into the actual mental model. This can be realized best by those who have encountered the virtual reality. The tools of virtual reality in our consciousness substitute the major part of the actual mental model of sensing, and we appear in the virtual world. It is similar to the perception of records. These are called fixations by my father. For example, while reading a novel or watching a movie. During the reading, we switch from sensory sensing to the actual mental model of fixation that creates in consciousness an imaginary, fictive world into which we are enchained. This bond is very strong. Just remember how unpleasant you feel during reading when somebody is pulling you out of the virtual world by deceptive questions. Brain does not create only one actual mental model or isolated actual mental models, but using our memory, it brings their seamless flow in front of our consciousness. This fact can be explained by the existence of not so empirically apparent fixed mental model, which means that behind our consciousness, somewhere in our mind, we can anticipate a fixed, relatively stable memory structure, generalizing the experience of individual actual mental models. The fixed mental model creates the contents of actual mental models that give them their meaning. It means it allows us to realize the meaning of what we see or perceive, respectively. We move in the fixed mental model when we recall, perceive, or imagine something. Based on the fixed mental model emerges through abstraction the idea-conceptual system. It means a structure of ideas and terms that is the conceptual model of reality. We find ourselves in the idea-conceptual system when we are thinking. It is characteristic for this model that it can be expressed or recorded respectively. By confronting idea-conceptual systems of different people, a unified conceptual model of reality can be reached. This model is currently, in contrary to previous times, created systematically by science and can be called the ontological model. It can be identified with another, already established concept, the scientific paradigm. How is the ontological model created? It has been formed throughout the history of human knowledge. At the beginning, there were ideas that people considered obvious. For example, that there are inanimate things and animate beings, gifted by consciousness or even intelligence like us, and possibly also the fact that the earth is flat and the sun is moving over the sky. Only in confrontation with the other, equally confined claims, a unified worldwide view, the historical form of the ontological model, was achieved by removing contradictions and paradoxes. The ontological model is created with the purpose to explain all actual mental models of all people, by which its legitimacy, trueness, and validity will be confirmed. How do you like my father's concept? Can you see now, similarly like him, that everything we realize is given to us mediated through the contents of consciousness? If yes, give him a chance to guide you through what he has found in his aquarium.